Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Michael Hall. The title of tonight's episode is The Patriot Act, because of absolute stab in the back of what happened on Friday night. Washington losing 48-18 to New England Patriots. I would say it's reminiscent of when Washington went against the Ravens a couple years ago, and we were so hyped to win that game, then nothing came out in the season. It definitely seemed like the Pats really, really wanted that game, probably for the cut on Vrabel's face. But that being said, to be able to talk about this game, to go over it, we brought in PFF's, our good friend of this show, Mr. Nick Akridge, everyone's favorite punching bag on Twitter. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
It's been a long time, Nick, but
Yep.
first thing I want to get into overall the whole entire game, because the question is brought up, and it's a good question. Does losing 48-18, does it mean anything for the like the entirety of the team when you had 30 guys sitting?
Not at all. For me, when I watched this back, I was only just looking at certain players, and then anything that kind of wowed me or whatnot. But yeah, not at all. I don't take much stock in preseason. There's not a lot that Washington is showing. There's a lot of just base stuff. So it doesn't really do much for me, the overall result. I'm just worried about how certain players play.
No, I definitely feel you on that. And speaking of those couple of players that you were highlighting, I was scrolling through Twitter earlier, and I saw that you were, as like everyone else, impressed by what Bill did out on the field. Just kind of speak on what he did, and do you think that he's going to be a factor for this team on the offense this season?
I do. I was waiting to join the hype once I saw actual game tape, instead of just kind of training camp reports. But yeah, I love the way he cuts. I put a screenshot of one cut where he's got his legs going two different directions and he doesn't lose any speed at all. Yeah, super impressed by him. I love that he just goes by Bill, which is pretty sick. But yeah, no, I was super impressed. I think he definitely has a role on this team.
Yeah, and obviously overall the offense was not all that great. You could say the highlights more so came from the defensive side of the football, in particular with Johnny Newton, with the early on that stunt play getting outside of Will Campbell, who trailed inside to the drive man on the stunt, which we see here on the screen happening now. What did you see out of Johnny Newton in total? Because that's just one play, and on that drive I had talked about how dominant he was through that game.
Yeah, he had some really good plays. I was excited from what I saw from him. That stunt play was probably not even close to his best couple plays. He had one where he did a really good job retracing on a screen, kind of recognized early that the guard was peeling out. He missed the tackle, which sucks, but he was first guy there, which was nice to see. Another kind of quick win he had against the right guard, I think, earlier on. Some good plays in the run game. So overall, it was a really good game from him. And again, that's the type of stuff that I'm looking for. Just kind of individual players that I think are going to, be a part of this team in the long run. And he had a good performance.
Yeah, some guys that didn't have some not so good performances were guys in the wide receiver core. Do you think that this without if say Terry like holds out, doesn't want to play however many games, whatever it may be, do you think that this wide receiver core is going to be able to be elevated by Jaden, or do you think it'll be a problem? And kind of like off of that, are you surprised that it's gone this like kind of sourly with Terry up to this point so far?
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised. I think he plays week one. I but I also didn't think it would get to where it has at this point. I just think it's just an unfortunate situation. But I do think he plays week one, and I don't think that what we saw from this receiver core in the preseason is not really indicative of what we're gonna see. Some of the guys that we kind of recognize are playing. Luke McCaffrey only had 11 snaps. That's kind of the only guy that you would think. Jalen Lane only had 18 snaps, so I don't see too much from what we saw there. Just some guys that could kind of make the back end of the roster. But really with Jaden, when you have, it doesn't really matter who's running routes. Like we saw last year that he can elevate certain players, and can elevate the receiving core. But you have Jaden Daniels. He's proven that he is an absolute stud at quarterback, and you should be doing everything in your power to get him as many weapons as possible. Don't try to make it harder on him just because we know he can do it. Try to make it as easy as you possibly can for him. By maybe spending a little bit more on Terry. I'm not saying that they're wrong in this scenario. It's a he said she said sort of thing. We don't know who's saying what when it comes to contract demands, but um, in my mind, you should be doing everything you possibly can to make his life easier.
Yeah, that's music to my ears because apparently everyone knows what the numbers are and what they're requesting.
Yeah,
From
it's
what I
just
hear,
like
Nick.
it's the front office is telling Schefter one thing, and then Terry's agent is telling Schefter another thing. So it's who do you want to believe? I don't really believe either of them. It's probably somewhere closer to the middle of both of the numbers that they're putting out. But for me, if it was me, I would have. This is why I'm not a GM. I would pay a premium for Terry McLaurin because of all the stuff that he's done in the past. I'd be willing to give up a little bit more money. That's kind of the benefit of having a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. So that's just me. Surprised it's kind of taken this long, but I do think he plays week one.
You can't pay Terry. I'm being a smartass right now. You can't pay Terry a big premium number because of who we could pay in 2 to 3 years, Nick. It
Yeah,
doesn't make
no,
sense.
you were one game away from the Super Bowl. You should be doing everything in your absolute power to get to the Super Bowl now. There's no such thing as because you have a long window, you wait. Your window is now, you attack now
Right.
just because it was just go. You
Right.
spend all the money, you do whatever you can to win.
Nah, man, I'd rather just piss off a team captain. Now, let's get into the first round pick of this season, Josh Connerly. In the All 22 film, you and I kind of talked about it a little bit. It makes more sense now of what people were saying, where he's getting kind of acclimated to the right side a little bit. But what did you overall see from Josh Connerly?
Yeah, there was like we were kind of talking about before, it's up and down. I think there were some real highlights there. I posted about some where he's really, really quick off the line of scrimmage. Like you can see his athleticism right away. It pops. When he needs to get to the second level, he wastes no movement.
Yeah.
He's getting there quickly. He's sealing guys quickly. But that aggressiveness is kind of was his problem on some reps. We talked about a specific one where he's got a chip from the receiver or tight end or something, and he's just way too aggressive in his pass set. He's way too horizontal. Just get some depth, and you're in a perfect spot. So that was kind of the biggest thing that I saw was he was just really, really aggressive. And I'd rather him have that aggression than you try to teach somebody to be aggressive. I think he just wanted to hit people, and that was kind of what he was trying to do. Led to some poor reps and pass pro, but kind of a good learning experience and some good moments there.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you feel about it because coming into it, I thought like the pass pro was what was going to come with more familiarity with him. But seeing how good he was at getting to the second level, there's that one Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt run where he combos the DT before going to, I think, to the second level, and then coming back to block the linebacker right before Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt comes up, just allowing for another couple yards for Ja'Cory. Just, I think that if that's the positive for him going forward, given his history with a pass blocker, I am very happy with where he is at the moment. We knew that it was going to take some time to get used to the right side. But if the run game, because I was not expecting the run game to be like the strength early on.
Yeah, no, he was firing off the line of scrimmage, which is everything that you like to see. Like you said, it is just a pass pro that kind of takes more work because again, everything is backwards. Whereas the run game, there is going to be some more similarity going from left to right side. Um, but when it comes to pass pro, you are doing everything backwards. So that will probably be the one that will take a little bit longer for him to kind of really shine in.
Yeah, I agree. I think OG Bobby Johnson is definitely pleased with his growth and development up to this point. Another guy that's been shaking waves and making noise for himself since OTAs really, and one of the draft picks that I was really excited about in the second round was Trey Amos. Just kind of talk about what he did in the game and what you saw and how he kind of fits into this cornerback room during the season.
Yeah, limited snaps from him. I think we only had 13 for him. But he made one really nice play the only time he was targeted. Just really solid. There wasn't much else to kind of see. Um, there were, like I said, only 13 snaps out there. But I was always a big fan of him. I remember when they drafted him, I would have been happy if he was the first round pick. So I think it really fills a need. I think you've kind of strengthened two positions with that draft pick if he kind of pans out the way I'm expecting him to. Now you've got a second outside corner across from Lattimore, and you can move Mikey back into the slot. And you've shored up two positions there with that one draft pick. So I'm a big fan. I like it's a good start. Obviously, you'd rather have him play better in limited snaps than worse, but just
Hmm.
limited snaps. So excited to see what he does.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's such a great thing for this football team going against the Patriots starters because obviously they had a point to prove. But with Trey Amos and company, like those and Connerly, that's a valuable reps for them to get. And Trey Amos was in wide receivers' pockets, man. I mean, he
Yep.
was running step for step. And there was one play that I included in the highlight reel that I have where he comes up and run support in the red zone, and it just that element of his game showcasing that there's not many more boxes that he could check. I think at this point you feel very good about Trey Amos. But that being said, another draft pick was Bane Madrano, as I like to call him. And he showed some elements. There were some plays where he was able to, as a rusher, create some pressure, just very minute, small amount of things, but it just shows his speed and what he's able to do. What did you see from Bane?
Yeah, he's an interesting one, man. Him and Dominic Hampton played almost all of the snaps at linebacker there. The two of them, and they're both very different in how they attack. Madrano was super aggressive, shooting gaps. Sometimes they were the wrong gap.
Hmm.
He did that a few times, but again, I'd rather have that aggressiveness. He kind of plays with that. I'm not saying he's Frankie Louvu, but plays with that Frankie Louvu style. I cannot preface that enough. He plays with that style of where if you're going to be wrong, he's wrong at 100% effort. And that's what I would rather see. Luvu kind of has that same energy where, again, like you said, they use him as a pass rusher. So that's what I did like to see that from him. It was impressive. There were some moments, again, like I said, he's attacking the wrong gap. There was some times there that he's taking himself out of gaps, but there were still some highlights, some nice plays there that he made. Intrigued to kind of see what he does, but I love the aggressiveness.
Yeah, for sure.
Real quick
It's
before
kind
you
of
go, I had tagged you guys on Twitter, and I uploaded the video to actual Twitter instead of trying to send it to you through DM. Just to let you know.
Sounds good.
yeah. I'm just kind of getting away from the game for a second, and just the offense as a whole. Obviously, Cliff Kingsbury was in his bag last year. A lot of that was because of Jaden, obviously, but he was definitely scheming guys open and definitely calling really good games. Do you think that he goes deeper into the playbook and deeper into his bag this year and kind of evolves the offense even more, or do you think he's kind of do you think the other D coordinators are going to catch up and we're going to see the cliff, as everyone likes to call it?
Yeah, no, my favorite thing is that these guys have tape on them now, so they're going to figure it out as if they didn't have tape every single week of the season that they were
Right.
playing.
Exactly.
Um, but no, I think he's got. I think the biggest thing that a few people have touched on it, but with the Laramie Tunsil or trade, and then the Josh Connerly pick, really shoring up that left and right tackle will open the playbook up a lot more because it will stop Cliff from having to chip the end on almost every single pass play. If you remember last year, every single pass play, a wide receiver, a tight end, a running back is almost always chipping the edge rushers, which makes them kind of delayed to go out into the routes.
Right.
So that just opens up more unique route concepts because you can rely on Laramie Tunsil on the left. You can hopefully rely on Connolly on the right. And again, that just opens up a lot more on this offense. So you can get these guys off the line of scrimmage and out on a run or on a route. I think that's the biggest key that this offense is going to have.
Yeah, and obviously everyone kind of has a different kind of panic meter at this moment, Nick. Right now, the Commanders are trying out seven different players. Dan Quinn, his presser, did not kind of highlight on what positions those would be. But that being said, what do you think of the wide receiver unit at this moment? Ja'Cory Brooks was the leading wide receiver on Friday with 5 receptions for 59 yards. What did you see from that group altogether? It's not going to be great, I would imagine.
Yes, correct. Yeah, again, this kind of goes back to the Terry talk where I wish they would have done more with this position. That obviously they go out and get Debo, and he hasn't played in the preseason yet, so we haven't seen that. Heard some good reports in training camp from him, which is a good sign. So that's kind of a big thing, Debo and Terry together. But the, after that, you don't really kind of have much else. You're really relying on Noah Brown again, who had a really solid year last year, but already dealing with some injuries. I still believe in Luke McCaffrey. What I saw the first couple weeks of the season last year, where he was consistently winning in man coverage, I'm not sure what happened the end of the year where he just wasn't anymore. So I'm gonna kind of hope that he is still doing that. And then you have Jalen Lane, which again is an unknown. So the group as a whole, there's just a lot of question marks. You have the Terry question mark if he's going to play. You got the Debo question mark of is he kind of injured or is he lost a step in his old age. And then you've got obviously Noah Brown injured. You've got Jalen Lane who's a rookie question mark there. McCaffrey question mark. So there's just a lot of question marks. You just don't know. And if it was me, I would have been going out to get as many weapons as I possibly can for him, for Jaden. And I just don't think they did that to the best of their ability this offseason.
And
that's my one question.
They do have to give an update. It seemed like Laramie Tunsil did get nicked up at the end of practice today. They said that I know Ben Standig had reported that Felix had reported that he had walked off the field or limped off, but he has not returned. It doesn't seem serious, is what he said.
I don't like that either way.
Nope.
Right. Obviously, Dante Fowler was the leading sack guy last year. They let him walk in free agency. Do you think that anybody gets to double-digit sacks this year on this defensive line, and if so, who? Or it doesn't have to be on the defensive line. It could be any defensive player, because I know a lot of people say Luka.
I don't think they do. I think, again, you're going to have to manufacture a lot of pressure like they did last year. One of the reasons they let Fowler go was, he had a lot of sacks, but a lot of that was manufactured. It was not off of him purely winning one-on-one. There were obviously some sacks where he did, but that's just what you're going to kind of have to do. I'm hoping Johnny Newton takes a big step up because he was great as a pass rusher in college. That's kind of the key. You get that interior pressure. Edge rushers can kind of work off of that. Deron Payne, we know what he has as flashes as a pass rusher. Those are the two guys that I'm really looking for. Again, I wish they kind of went out and really kind of solidified the edge position. I know we got Von Miller, but that's another question mark. You don't know how much he's going to play. He keeps saying that he's feeling great and is going to play a lot more than he did in Buffalo. So maybe there's your double-digit sack guy, but that's really kind of more, how often is he going to play? But yeah, I don't think anyone really gets to double-digit sacks. I think this defense is going to be more of a kind of team combined unit.
My man. To wrap this up, only a couple more questions for you, Nick, before we let you get out of here and enjoy your day. Overall, how are you 0 to 1 concerned, 0 to 10, 0 to 1, 0 to 10 concerned about the overall team based on what happened on Friday? Especially because I have been on record saying what happened on special teams is unacceptable. They had Reeves, they had Butler on that kickoff unit that gave up the touchdown to Travion Henderson. We all know about Travion Henderson. I nicknamed him Hannibal Lecter because he's an absolute psychopath. Are you concerned at all after Friday's game?
No. No, I'm not any more or less concerned after the Friday's game. Maybe the special teams, I may be a little bit more concerned about the kicking game. But the overall team, no, I wouldn't say I'm any more or less concerned based on that one performance. Yeah, the special teams was pretty bad. But you still got a couple more games of the preseason, try to figure that out. They really got to get the kicking situation figured out, though. That's the thing that terrifies me, honestly.
Well, it's crazy because early on,
I realized I didn't answer the 0 to 10 question. I'd say 0 was not concerned, right?
Yes.
I'm at like a 2 or a 3.
Okay. Well, it's weird because we heard aggregators saying that based on what I saw training camp, Matt Gay hasn't missed at all. And of course, you don't say that. You're going to jinx the cat. And then after he misses that field goal, then we start hearing team reporters saying, oh, well, he's missed the last 6 out of 10. And I said, well, there you go. You guys jinxed it. Like what I'd rather the regular season. I get it. But we'll let Dan Quinn and company be able to decipher if they want to bring somebody else out. Just to be able to test it out, which sucks about the whole thing because Brandon McManus was kicking field goals last night, but we don't need to open that bag of tricks. Second one for you. With Jordan McGee and the injuries, obviously there's a plethora of them, Brandon Coleman and others. Which one concerns you the most of the guys not playing right now?
I think the Coleman one is a bit concerning. Um, Again, because I think
Not
with
Mariota?
no, not If Mariota's playing or the backup, any of the backups are playing, we're screwed anyway. So I don't really that doesn't bother me. It's the Coleman one because similar, like I talked about with the Amos pick, with the Tunsil signing, you've possibly shored up two positions again. You've got the left tackle obviously with Tunsil, and then you can move Coleman into left guard, which I think will be an upgrade over Allegretti. Um, so if you go back to Allegretti, he was serviceable. He was by far he was not great at his position, but he was serviceable. Um, but yeah, that one concerns me because I did like a few things that I saw from Coleman last year. Again, up and down year for him, but I was intrigued to kind of see what they had.
Yeah, that offensive line year, when he's back and Cosme, based on what Connerly was able to do on Friday going against starters, I think we could feel very confident in the run
Very,
game in
yeah.
particular about what could be
I
added.
was I was kind of shocked that Cosme could possibly be back week one. I was kind of more assuming that would be later in the year, but that again just kind of shores up another question mark on the offense.
Yeah, we've heard that from Dan Quinn all offseason that Cosme hasn't missed a day. He's been in there
That's
rehabbing,
awesome.
working his ass off to get back, and that's exactly what we want to hear. Like Hall went and worked at Ashburn a couple weeks ago. He said he saw Cosme, and he's a gigantic human being, which isn't
Yeah.
surprising whatsoever. But last question that I have for you, sir. Based on the tight ends, Ben Sinnott, what did you see from him on Friday?
I can't lie to you. I didn't even look at him much, which is not a great thing because he didn't pop out at all on film. That is a concerning one. 27 or 23 snaps, 47.7 overall grade. Grade's not going to tell you much with that limited amount of snaps, but yeah, that one's a little concerning. I think tight end it's a tough position to transition to from college to pro, and I think it's nice, having Ertz back. I really like that re-signing. There's not a lot of pressure on him this year, and I think he can just kind of continue to learn the position because he's a great athlete. But yeah, didn't really see much from him in that first preseason game, so hopefully that changes a little bit.
Yeah, I did. I was impressed. A couple of the blocks, he was able to pancake a corner on, I think it was the Ja'Cory Krosky merit run to the outside sideline that you had highlighted on Twitter. You
Yeah.
could see
Oh,
Ben.
yep. Yeah. I remember that one.
You could see Ben sending it upfield, putting somebody on the ground, and he seemed like because in college the one thing that he was good at in blocking was when he was in motion, having some
Hmm.
momentum behind him. It was more so like coming off the ball. That's where it is. So glad to see he's still that is his strength, but there's still the book is still out, of course. And I
Yeah.
think he had like a one reception as well. But that being said, if you right before you go, if you'd like to plug, just say the top graded guys from Friday's game.
Yeah. The highest graded one was Jeremy Reeves. Great game. He was everywhere. Only again, a lot of these with the preseason grades, they're going to be kind of all over the place because it's limited sample sizes. We're talking about guys that played 20, 30 snaps. Jeremy Reeves, 87.6 was the highest. Jalen Holmes, edge defender, 34 snaps, 82.4. Trey Amos would have been third, but only 13 snaps at 80.5. Noah Igbenogany, 39 snaps, 79.8 overall. Ja'Cory Brooks, 33 snaps, 80.1. Those were kind of the top guys. Tyler Owen was close behind, 73.9. Chris Paul, 76.9. So those are kind of some of the top guys. But again, when you're dealing with preseason grades, kind of one big play can make that grade skyrocket, and one bad play can make it go in the toilet. So
Which kind of speaks to Tyler Owens with that one missed
yeah,
tackle on Travion Henderson.
yeah.
But Nick, I can't thank you enough for joining us, brother. Before you get out of here, it's like to
Yes,
plug your social media
sir.
handle. So anyone wants to yell at you, they can.
Well, that's not a very inviting invite now.
I don't know, man. Based on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, that's like that seems to be where the party's at.
Yeah, no, it's just Twitter. That's the only thing that I use. Yeah, at PFF underscore Nick Akridge. That's where I'll post everything.
My man. Make sure you guys go and follow Nick. He's fantastic, uploading film breakdowns
Yep.
and being able to give you guys grades from PFF. Nick, have a great, fantastic Sunday, sir. Enjoy it, and
Of
have a
course.
good week, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Appreciate
See
it.
you guys.
Glad to see you back, man. All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Nick Akridge. Oh, I got it. You haven't really been talking in the Discord. Would it be able to? I'd love to be able to hear your thoughts on your immediate thoughts from Sunday's game or Friday's game.
Um, Honestly, I didn't even watch it
Oh
because
my gosh, dude.
I know I was like, I didn't realize it was on like USA 9, and I don't have cable. It's like a bunch of like streaming stuff. But I mean, I was like on Twitter, like just kind of scrolling, refreshing, seeing what people were talking about, saying,
Disappointed.
posting the clips. Yeah, I figured like, do I really want to like? I was gonna watch the first like quarter maybe or something like that, but I was like, it's only maybe like a handful of guys that like I'm actually like worried about seeing. Most of these guys are gonna be end of the roster or like not even like on the team type guys anyway. So I was just like, man, definitely gonna watch the second one, obviously. But yeah, just from what I saw from like people posting clips, the reporters reporting on the game and whatnot. Obviously, if you look at the score, if you just looked at the score, you'd be like, damn, they got their ass whooped and they need to get better, da 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 da. But overall, like the guys that I wanted to see, as far as like the starters, they're going to be starters or rotational guys that are going to play big roles, like Amos and Connerly and guys like that. Definitely did their thing. They had good outings. Definitely like what I saw from Johnny Newton, like you were talking about. Only thing that I would say that as far as like a negative, just from a team's perspective, was all the penalties because obviously that's something that you can control as a player. Like the stuff that you can't control out of your hands, like it is what it is. But the stuff you can control is your effort, your focus, the penalties. So yeah, I know DQ probably got on him about that, but outside of that, it was a good showing from the guys that I wanted to see on the field.
Yeah, but I said it on the Discord after the game. There was nothing positive out of the special teams unit. And you know, I love Jeremy Reeves, Tyler Owens and company, but they gave up the touchdown to open the game. They gave up another huge kick return to Antonio Gibson. Penalties on literally, I think, almost every return that we had on special teams. Literally, Izzo is going to be in their ass this week. And they obviously are, it's just preseason and everything like that. But that's the one unit where you had starters out there for that game. And I said this on Twitter, I understand this is for evaluation. I totally get it. But the standard is the standard. You do not turn on the standard for only regular season games. It is a daily expectation that is upheld that cultivates your culture. And so you can't just sit here and say, "Oh well, it's just preseason. We're evaluating. It's no big deal." I get that, but the way that we performed on Friday night, I say we. I know people are going to point that out, but that's not the recipe for success moving forward. And I think that we can all agree on that. And I think Dan Quinn's presser kind of talked about that a little bit. And I have a lot of respect for Dan Quinn because he thinks about things similarly as I do, in the sense that that's not how you come out and play. And regardless if that's the first stringers or not, you expect to at least come out firing and being able to hit somebody in the mouth because obviously the Patriots were pissed off with how joint practices went, and they made a point to come out in this game like it was a regular season game, which was my whole point of bringing it up earlier. But overall, I thought Johnny Newton was dominant, and that's exactly what you want to see from Johnny Newton. I also thought Jeremy Reeves, I got called corny for saying that Jeremy Reeves, I recommended to Jeremy that he would tape up his face mask like Sean Taylor. And they said, well, you would do that for a special teams guy. That's corny. I'm like, what is corny about it? I don't get it. He was the enforcer last season. Dan Quinn talked about this a lot. He set the tone on those kickoffs by delivering some big hits. People didn't agree with me. Well, look back at Friday and you're like, oh, wait, maybe that guy kind of is. You know what I mean? Guess what? Jeremy Reeves definitely deserves that high rating because not only was he impactful in the passing game by swatting away some balls, he was able to come up and deliver some big-time hits, one that should not have been penalized. I understand why they penalized it because the way that we have to look at it, I know they're trying to make the NFL goofy in the way of very soft, but you have to imagine the NFL is ran by lawyers. So they're trying to minimize liability. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Anything that could make them liability for a future medical concern, they're going to penalize it. And that's essentially what they're doing right now. So just take a breath. But I'm glad that Jeremy Reeves came out. I included that hit in here, even though it was flagged, just because that's a fantastic football play. And you could see the running back lower his helmet before Jeremy gets there. What is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to do? Throw him
I
up.
hate that's the stupidest rule ever is when they lower their helmet. Like you said, what is the defender supposed to do? You got to go lower, like so.
Sometimes
So
there's
stupid.
sometimes there's play There's plays where it's warranted, right? Where like you should not have lowered your helmet.
Right.
But there's other instances like Jeremy's where the running back literally lowers his body for the contact, which Jeremy going in would have made contact with his chest. But because the running back brings his head down, now it's a penalty. So what you're going to tell every running back is whenever you get hit, lower your helmet. We'll get a 15-yarder attributed to it closer to field goal range. Like
Right.
that's what you're doing here. And so I know it's a kind of slippery slope and everything. But overall, let's get into some fan questions that were submitted. The first one that we're going to go to is the Colonel. His question is, Hall, let's face it, guys. We didn't play 30 dudes. Was the outcome that surprising? My only criticism is not pulling Sam Hartman earlier. If you can't string together a couple offensive series, how can we get a good look at those players on the bubble?
No, that's a good point. The outcome, I wouldn't say. I would say it's surprising just because, obviously it's preseason. Like you said, they didn't have their top 30 like players that are going to be contributing for this team during the regular season. But like you said, the and like Mike Tomlin always says, the standard is a standard, and the standard should always be upheld. And as a whole, we should be like not displeased, but we should be past those days of the Dan Snyder era where we're getting blown out and penalized and just not like lackluster effort, but just boneheaded stuff that was going on the field that shouldn't be a part of what the new regime and what they're trying to build now. So at the end of the day, like you said, it's preseason. A lot of the players on the field are not going to be guys that are going to be on the 53, maybe not even on the practice squad. So you got to kind of take that into account. But the standard is a standard, and that should always be upheld, like you said. So hopefully they come out against the Bengals on whatever day they play, and they uphold themselves to the standard that they set going back to last year.
I will say this. I am going to give Sam Hartman some grace, not because it's Mike Reed's boy, but because like 3 of those drops were literally hit in the hands.
Yeah.
And even my guy Cole Turner dropped 2 of them that should have been caught. I think one of them was from Josh Johnson. But regardless, some of those were dropped, dude, and they were right in the breadbasket. And
That one KJ Osborne dropped, I was like, bruh.
yeah, was that the one in the middle of the field? I think
No, that was the slot fade route where he just
Yep.
dropped it right into the bucket
In
and it
the
just
end
bounced
zone.
right off.
That was
Yeah,
a
it was a
beautiful
touchdown.
football.
That was a touchdown.
Beautiful football. I think the DB gets some credit on that for punching that
Yeah,
out.
yeah, but I mean, hey, you know the rules. It hit your hands. You got to make that catch.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I can't disagree with this. That's why you're on here. But I think Sam Hartman, one thing I will give credit for is that if you watch the 3rd series by Hartman, he seems much more comfortable. And some of those throws I included in the highlights here, where he's able to sit in the pocket, diagnose, and be able to hit the ball out wide. Like we said, he threw that beautiful ball to KJ Osborne. I think a lot of that has to go with the no huddle offense. And I think that Cliff Kingsbury and company, I think it's very, between us, the viewers, because not that many people watch the show, between us and the viewers, the no huddle is most likely what they are practicing 90% of the time. And so they came out in this game saying, we don't want to tip off that the no huddle is what we're always going to be doing. So we're going to go out, just do a regular offense. And so it just didn't seem, it seemed kind of awkward, the offense, right? And I think that has a lot to do with it. You saw Sam Hartman more natural once they got into that no huddle offense and things started clicking a little bit more. It's no craziness that Josh Johnson looked a lot more comfortable out there being a vet, and we know Josh Johnson from his previous Washington days coming off the street and performing well. That's just what he does. So I'm not going to – it definitely seemed like Sam came into the game amped up, hyped up for his first start. You know, he came in all dressed up and Gucci'd up. But you wish that he could have given some more opportunities, like the one to Jalen Lane where he just sails the ball over his head, and the first pass of the game is reminiscent of Jaden's first pass in preseason last year, where it's a screen pass. It's just wildly inaccurate.
So what you're saying is next time he gets on the field, no punts, no interceptions, just no turnovers, no nothing?
Yes, if he does get on the field. But that being said, like obviously they were going against the starters for New England, and obviously they didn't have Christian Gonzalez out there was one, but they did have Kyle Duggar, the safety. So we do have to give a little bit of grace in that regard. But I'm not going to say that Sam Hartman didn't give a good look. I think he definitely did. It's just altogether they did not come out firing on all cylinders, and I don't think any aspect of this football team could say that they did. to be perfectly honest with you. All three failed in some capacity. Now, the next question that we have was submitted on Twitter, and this is our guy, Tony Franchise. His question is, Hall, how good was it to see Newton make a play in the game? It seems he has been quiet through camp. One more question. Of these two available free agents, which one would you like to see added to the team, Amari Cooper or Justin Simmons?
Definitely, I'll go with Justin Simmons. I think that even though I know the safety room, a lot of people, obviously Quan Martin has shown that he's really developed and grown from his rookie season. We just signed Will Harris from the Saints, but obviously I think Justin Simmons would be an upgrade over both those guys. He's a proven vet in this league, and he would definitely add another layer to this defense that would help in the back end. I know a lot of people are kind of questioning the pass rush. A guy like Justin Simmons helps the guys up front do their job a little bit better just because of he's a guy that can play coverage, he can come down in the box, get active in the run game as well. So that would be the guy I go with. But as far as Johnny Newton goes, love what I saw from him. Like you said, he looks explosive. This time last year, he was rehabbing I think a second foot surgery that he got on his other foot. So this is the guy that a lot of people coming out of the draft last year, when a lot of people like kind of looked him up, saw what he was all about, were like, oh damn, this guy gets like hands on offensive linemen. He's physical. He's a great pass rusher from the interior. So
Yes.
I think a lot of people are like, okay, he's healthy now, full training camp, second year in the system. Now this is the Johnny Newton that we were all expecting. So definitely hope he builds on that performance and keeps going up.
Yeah, just looking at just looking at him overall in his stance, he looks very much in shape. And coming
Yeah.
out of college, one thing that was glaring from him is I nicknamed him John McClane from Die Hard, because he's just a disruptor. And that's what he did in college, and that's what he did on Friday night. That first series coming out, he was incredibly disruptive on the screenplay, in run plays, and then the strip sack. It was almost like I said it on Twitter before the strip sack. He's dominating right now. He's disrupting everything that they want to do. I'm very happy for Johnny Newton because if he's able to continue building on this and getting better and better, just like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, he's going to force himself onto the field, and adding more fuel to the fire, just more of that rotation, is going to make this football team that much better in being able to control the trenches. Of course, there were even run plays where he was getting doubled. He held his guy up, made sure they had to go around him, and then got in on the tackle. That's exactly what you want to see out of Johnny Newton. Playing like a starter, going against starters. And that's what you ultimately wanted to see out of these young guys. Yes, you're going against people that are starting for their football team, and maybe you're not currently. But let's see if you could be. And that's what Johnny Newton definitely proved. As for the other question, I'm not going to answer that, to be honest with you. It's Terry McLaurin. Just bring back Terry. I don't care about Amari Cooper. Look, it's funny because people have said Jaden Daniels will raise the floor of everybody, which I said from the get-go last season when we were talking about Brandon Ayuk. All that matters is the quarterback position that raises the floor of everybody else. It kind of gets the offense going, similar to what Tom Brady was able to do for the Patriots. I'm going to say it now. I think Amari Cooper, as much as he was probably poor last year with Cleveland and others, and especially with Buffalo, because I think there was one game where he didn't even play.
Yep.
That Jaden's accuracy could absolutely benefit Amari Cooper and making him look just a reliable set of hands. But I think the guys that have been here working hard deserve that opportunity to build on what they have. And we just need more consistency out of the wide receiver group. Are we in panic mode yet? I don't think so. Not yet overall in that group. Obviously,
I feel like
Debo and Jaden are very much on the same page.
yeah, they definitely got a good connection. They
I
developed a
want to see.
connection
I
really
want to see
quickly
Jalen.
too.
I want to see Jalen Lane with Jaden. I want to see
Yeah.
what that looks like.
I think we might have to wait till he might get a little bit more snaps against the Bengals if the starters even play. Who knows? But what was I gonna say? I don't even remember what I was gonna say. Keep going.
You're good, man. Now the next question we have, let's go to Instagram for our guy James Bonato. Sent one in yesterday. Cut day is August 26th, Hall, and teams can sign players cut from other teams. If we take advantage of this, what position should we target? Although we were playing second and third stringers against the Pats, they were running through our D-line like a hot knife through butter. So maybe there, or maybe we might scoop up anyone who looks good as a steal.
Yeah, I think we've seen that AP and the front office guys, Lance Newmark, all those guys are always looking throughout the league, scouring throughout the league to kind of to add players to the roster to make the upgrade the roster. AP's talked about that many times going back to day one since he came to Washington.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that they'll probably scour the cut down days and see who does get cut and possibly make a move. But if I guess a certain position group, this is actually what I just jogged my memory. What I was going to say before. Um, as far as panic goes, I would say maybe a wide receiver because I obviously, if the inconsistency keeps on happening outside of a guy like Debo and maybe Jalen Lane, I think they're going to obviously need to add a body to that room because Noah Brown, while when healthy, is a plus for this offense. His health is always a question. So I do think they add a wide receiver, but as far as like Terry goes, I think that the panic gets heightened a little bit more after this second preseason game with the Bengals because now the clock kind of starts ticking of okay, we got the joint practice with the Ravens. You want to hopefully get Terry in, get him ramped up, get some work in with the joint practice with the Ravens. But if he comes in early or late, plays week one, gets a soft tissue issue or a soft tissue problem, that's going to hurt the offense. Or if he misses week one, he's going to miss week two as well because it's a quick turnaround going to the Thursday night game for the Packers. So, yeah, I think that crunch time for the wide receiver room after this second preseason game starts to ramp up a little bit.
Yeah, first off, with the hot knife through butter, I think our defensive tackles are very good. I was very impressed with Eddie Goldman and how he played with Johnny Newton on Friday. Very nimble on his feet, was reactionary, was able to stop a run play. Was actually one of the highlights here. Also, I think that Johnny Newton has really proved himself. Obviously, the gap integrity from Friday night was very bad once you got down the roster with the DTs, and I think that's going to happen. But it's reminiscent of what Deron Payne and John Allen did many years ago, where that gap integrity was just not existent, where the quarterbacks should just run up the middle on you. So that rotation, once you get lower down, I'm not concerned about it. If you're adding in Javon Kinlaw, you're talking about Deron Payne, Johnny Newton, Eddie Goldman. I think that we are pretty much feeling very comfortable and confident with what we have in that group. I don't think that gap integrity is going to be a sacrifice as much as it was in Friday night's game. I do think that's going to be cleaned up. But also in the run game, I think that the linebackers had a lot to do with it. And I don't want to throw them under the bus. But there were some plays where Dom Hampton, and I know that he's new to the position. I'm giving him some grace in that regard. But some of those, it's like, what are you doing, pal? Like, what are you doing here? And just going wrong gaps, taking the wrong angles to things. And so it's like, if you're going to be a lighter kind of guy, you got to be fast to the football. You can't be 5 yards inland when it's a sweep to the outside. You got to be at the outside. You got to be in on that tackle. And so you can't just rely on the safeties because that's what happened last year with a lot of those run plays where it got busted up and the safeties were coming out to make a play. If any position at this moment, I'd most likely say it might be offensive line where we might have to go down that route. Lucas Niang tore his ACL on Friday. He's gone. We had just picked him up, of course, and we all know that. Brandon Coleman, his injury. And then today, Laramie Tunsil was limping off the field. We don't know it's severe or not to make anybody go into panic mode, but I definitely think the offensive line is where you want to look at if we're talking about stealing from other teams, just to add more weapons to the arsenal. Just pack that room with just absolute animals and bulldozers, and let's see how everything else works out. That's a really good question, James. I appreciate you, sir. Now let's go to the Discord for all the great questions. This one was submitted by Arch. Has the wide receiver depth chart changed for you after watching the first preseason game?
No, I think it's still Terry's still the one. Noah Brown, technically the two, or Debo the two, whatever you want to call the two is. Um, Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, probably Jalen Lane above Luke McCaffrey, I would say. And then yeah, I mean the rest of these guys like Osborne, Gallup, Ja'Cory Brooks, Chris Moore. I think Chris Moore might get slide it down a peg or two, just because he's a 10-year vet. Obviously, he's been in the league for a while, but I think a guy like Ja'Cory Brooks, who shows flashes in practice and led the team in catches on Friday night, might get moved up a peg up too, just because, like, okay, we kind of know what Chris Moore is in this league. Let's see what the young guy has to offer, see if he can keep building on that. So, yeah, I think the top guys are still the same, but maybe the back of the roster guys get jumbled around with Ja'Cory Brooks maybe elevating a spot or two.
Yeah, in this house, my wife knows to refill the TP. Well, I'm not your wife, Smy. Well, if you were, I'd knock you down a peg or two. Good old Super Troopers. I'm not going to say it changed at all because I think a lot of those guys that you had mentioned, the Chris Moores, the Michael Strachans, Ja'Cory Brooks, the book was still out. I was kind of looking at them saying, well, prove it to me. So, show me what you got. And we know that with Ja'Cory Brooks, I talked about on the last pod on Wednesday that maybe he's a certain type of guy that does well under the lights and not so well under practice. Because Logan Paulson had brought up that there are just a lot of those guys that we just mentioned are coming up with big plays, but also the consistency is not there as a pass catcher. And obviously, Ja'Cory Brooks kind of showcased that on Friday, being the more consistent of the group. Of course, I'm not going to say it's mixed up because they're still in that realm, right? Luke McCaffrey, though, obviously he was pulled for sickness. He was out there practicing today with the team. But overall, you want to see more from Luke. Like you were out there as the starter for this game. You wanted to see more, and still nothing. You know what I mean? Like even Ben Sinnott was able to get some catches. We want to be able to see more, and it's hard to do it with Luke because they said they've seen a big transformation from Luke in this offseason. So you want to see more. All I'll say is it sucks that we weren't able to see more of Jalen Lane and Luke McCaffrey in particular because those are the ones that are really going to be able to decide what's on this depth chart and what isn't. And that's going to be the big indicator. But I think thus far that Jalen Lane has locked up his spot with the punt returner. So regardless, he's going to be on the 53. I think we know that at this point. And it just sucks that we weren't able to see a little bit more, but hopefully we will down the road. Now the next question from Tim Towner. In 2022, the New York Giants were a wild card team and even won a playoff game on the road versus Minnesota. Since then, they have sucked for 2 years, and that is projected to continue in 25. Convince me that this is not our future. What signs would reflect that is not our future? What signs would say we should be concerned?
Signs that say we are not them is our quarterback situation is 1,000 times better than they've had since Eli Manning decided to retire. So that's one reason why we probably should not end up like the Giants going from first to worst. Another reason is the upgraded offensive line, which the Giants' offensive line has been in shambles for many, many, many of years now. The running game is going to obviously elevate and help the offense as well, and Jaden. So those are just three reasons right there why I think that they are not going to be the Giants of the past. And what was the second part of the question?
Oh, dang it. Don't ask me that. Second part of the question was convince me that this is not our future.
Oh, yeah.
What signs would reflect that is not our future?
Yeah. So those are the signs that is not our future. The signs that I guess if you want to go to the flip side and say that the reasons why it could be our future is we saw that the depth that were talking about throughout the offseason that we all thought that they upgraded. We still might have some questions about that, so we got to see how that pans out. Um, if Terry doesn't play, obviously that hurts us because that's our number one receiver and a big chunk of our offense getting taken out, and that could obviously hurt the team. So, yeah, and maybe there's a significant injury to someone on the defensive side of the ball, maybe like a Lattimore, maybe like a Luvu or something like that. Knock on wood, and that definitely takes the defense down a peg as well because they've definitely upgraded the defense. We all think, but again, the depth is not there just because of years past. So, yeah, can't afford any crazy major injuries on either side of the ball.
You're on your pegging vibes today, my friend. Now, the next question is submitted by Chris Comerton. All right, I didn't even answer it. Firstly, because of Josh Harris, Tim. Josh Harris said he's not an F- guy. Not interested in falling that far back. I agree with him, and I think that from the overall organizational standpoint, they don't either. I think that also Dan Quinn and this coaching staff are very well built in the sense of being able to contain these sort of issues and be able to go. We saw that last year. There was many times that they could have literally laid down that three game skid, and they somehow as a team pulled their way out of it. I do think that I understand what you're saying because the options and anything is possible, right? But I think overall, the want to not do that is greater than anything. And so I think overall, you have to include Jane Daniels into that mix and just saying that has proven a lot more than Daniel Jones has over his career in just one season. And you want to continue that, of course. But just going down, even the veterans on this football team, that kind of standard that has been ingrained onto the football team, I think is what you can really bank on. But it also comes down to the draft picks. Can you get guys on here to contribute? And thus far, we have seen that. Mikey Sainristil, Johnny Newton showcasing himself a little bit here in this last game, Jaden Daniels, of course. So I think that we can feel confident that we're not down that road. We're not the Giants, but we're not far away from falling into that sort of thing. And that all that all lies on AP and making sure that 17 is back here. Now, let's go to the next question in the Discord. This one was from Chris Comerton Hall. Did the first preseason game make you guys second guess the quality of the depth on the team? And how confident are you that DQ and company will get them back on track by the Bengals game?
Yeah, to answer the second part, I do definitely think that DQ and his coaching staff definitely has the ability to get them back on track, get everyone right. Obviously, a lot of the time, coaches will say like if it was that bad of a beatdown or that bad of a thing, they don't even watch the film. They just moving on to the next week. They might watch a couple things here and there, but for the most part, just watch it, move forward. So, and we saw, like you said, going back to last year, we saw that when they faced some adversity with the Jaden Daniels, what we now know is a broken rib or whatever it was. They went through that little adversity, the 3 game stretch where everyone was kind of turning on them, like, are they the team that we thought they were? Da 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 da. They got through it, rose above it, got through it, and that definitely has to do with DQ, the coaching staff, preaching to the players that, hey, we're right there, we're still in it. So, yeah, I definitely think they've shown that they can do that. And I don't even remember the first part of the question.
Did it make you second guess the quality of the depth?
Yeah. Like I talked about before, the overall depth, maybe you might question it, but again, a lot of the people that we saw, I don't know if they're going to be on the 53, the practice squad, whatever it may be. So I think overall, just from 1 to how many practice squad? 1 to 70, I think the depth overall is better. But again, it goes back to if you sustain an injury here or there because the cupboard has been so bare for the past couple of years, how much damage would it actually do? Depends on the position. So if I had to go like scale of 1 to 10, I would say that concern, I would go like a 4 just because there were guys playing that are going to be on the field on Sundays, like Eddie Goldman. He was touted as a run stuffer and a big body up front. I saw him getting pushed around a lot by the Patriots offensive line. So yeah, I would go with a 4 as far as concerned.
I'll say this. I'm not concerned after the preseason game, specifically because they were going against starters. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. It would be embarrassing for the Patriots not to have that sort of output against what they were going against, right? Like, naturally, that's going to happen. I am not concerned about the overall depth of the football team. To equate this to what I do for a living, right? Like, I'll be honest with you guys. I'm on a job site where I messed up some cuts, dude. Like, and it come to find out my tape measure was actually faulty. Me and Teddy, we put our tape measures together, and mine was like an eighth inch shorter. And I don't know how. I don't know why it just got damaged, so I went out and bought a new one. That being said, I was pissed off at myself for allowing that to happen continuously. And Teddy went in on me a little bit. And that's how it's supposed to be. When you screw up, you're supposed to feel bad. When you have a bad outing, you're supposed to feel bad. And that's not something that you're just going to allow to walk away from you. You learn from it. So every time you do make a cut, you're making sure that you don't allow that to happen again. You're extra cautious and making sure that that's not what's going to happen.
Didn't they tell you to measure 3 times? Come on, Kyle.
Twice. You measured twice, cut once. We all know this, of course.
Yeah, you're right.
All I'm saying is my measuring tape was telling me it was good. I make sure to let them know that. But regardless, I'm not concerned because this is a growing process, and of course it is. But you, of course, go to them and say, this is not acceptable. This has to get fixed. And most likely it will get fixed. This won't be an ongoing thing. But you got to get punched in the mouth every now and again to be able to wake yourself up to make sure you don't allow that chance to happen again. And that's what I think is going to happen a lot with these depth guys. Is yes, we had 30 guys starting. There's 22 starters on offense and defense. We had 30 guys sitting, right? Let's take that into consideration a little bit here. Take a deep breath. Of course, just make sure that those younger guys, those guys that lower down, understand we have others here that could contribute. If you're not going to be able to uphold that standard, we're going to make sure that they see more time to see if they can uphold the standard. And that's going to light a fire under everyone. I am very confident that DQ and company are going to be able to get the most out of these guys based on how this game went. And Logan Paulson explained that on Twitter, because he's now on Twitter now. Logan Paulson NFL. If you search that on Twitter, you can find him. Just saying that he played under DQ. He knows what they're going to use this for. I know Larry Izzo is going to be lighting a fire under that special teams unit. That's supposed to be a strength of the team. You got to uphold the standard, and I'm sure that they will. I am very, very confident they're going to be able to do that. Now, last question before we head out of here, brother. Tim Towner says, I have to say that after that first preseason game that we, quote, need one more guy, end quote. Obviously, that would be Terry. But other than him specifically, where was our depth lacking? The wide receiver room, the linebackers, what stood out? Or for that matter, did not stand out?
I'd say, yeah, our linebacker depth. I think we saw guys like Dom Hampton just kind of miss gaps, get uh, blown off the ball by like certain blockers and different plays. Obviously, Kay Madrano, like we talked about, if you're going to be wrong, be wrong at full speed. So that's like a slight positive of it. But if you're going to shoot gaps, you got to be able to make those plays because if you, like we saw, you missed the wrong gap, that kind of affects different layers of the whole entire defense, kind of like a ripple effect type of thing. So, yeah, I would say the linebacker depth overall, outside of like Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, everyone had high hopes for McGee, but as we've seen, he can't stay on the field for whatever reason. So I think that if he hopefully gets back on the field, gets himself together, and can actually get on the field for the regular season and play some games, I think that shores it up a little bit more. But as of right now, the linebacker depth is what kind of scares me.
What stood out? I think the safeties absolutely stood out. That's one of our most depth places, along with running back. Demetric Felton was our leading rusher on Friday with 6 carries for 42 yards, average 7.0 on the ground. Obviously, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt looked good. We didn't even get to see Brian Robinson or Austin Eckler. And then that not even counting Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichol. So that's one that did stand out. The ones that didn't, of course, I would say the wide receiver. That's an easy one to say. Just because of the drops, I will give them the benefit of the doubt, being able to showcase next week that they're going to do well. But I would say that's one where the depth is obviously lacking, and we've known this for some time. You keep playing grab ass with your team captain and best wide receiver, this is what's going to happen. And we need to learn from Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals and Jamar Chase's contract year where he sat out some games. They lost some games early on. It was hard for them to get back in the swing of things and being able to get into the playoffs, right? We need to be cautious about that. Now, what stood out, or for that matter, what did not stand out? I think the depth at defensive tackle down the line was definitely one of those. I'm not going to say linebackers because I do think that I have to give Dom a little bit of grace just because he's new. I know Bobby has taken him under his wing. I thought Kane showed enough that showed me more than I needed to see out of him. But overall, I was very impressed with the corners. Price was playing fantastic before he got concussed and out of the game. Vigors, I know, was getting ran over and everything like that, but he was doing a good job doing his job, just being in the way. Because the corners, that's what you need to do. Just get in the way, dude. Last line of defense, last thing you want to do. Look, nobody likes going fast or running over a speed bump, okay? We're all cursing the speed bump because it bumped us and now it stopped us a little bit. It made us rattle a little bit. Well, that's what Vigors was on Friday night, a good old speed bump.
Definitely a speed bump, I'll give you that.
Yes, he was. So I'll say the corners were very impressive, and I think Trey Amos is the top of that, without a doubt. Now, the last question is from our guy Arch. Real question. Who wants to win in preseason more this year? that Washington faces, the Ravens or Patriots?
Um,
I'll say it's the Patriots.
I was gonna say I'll say it's the Patriots just because it was the Tom Brady statue night. Like you said, the joint practices.
So weird that they would do that for a preseason game, dude.
Supposedly, there's rumors out there that they were actually game planned, like it was a real game for this
I've heard
preseason
that.
game. So,
Logan said that on the broadcast in the
Right.
game heading into halftime is what the guys in the chat said.
yeah. So there you go. But I cannot remember these questions. It's been a long day.
It's obviously it's obvious that Robert Kraft was telling Vrabel.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. My
that
bad.
Kraft was telling Vrabel that I don't like 4-13. I want to get back to where we were before. And they did not like how joint practices went because we all know that Robert Kraft flew his helicopter into joint practices. Obviously, he got to see what was going on there. And in my honest opinion, it was very evident that the Patriots are trying to win on social media. That's the point, is trying to get back to their glory days through social media. And you could look at Barstool for this. I included this on my Twitter. They said that Drake May outdueled Jaden Daniels. So this damn joint practice. What the hell are you talking about, dude? What do you like? This is so ridiculous, and that's all they want to do. They just want to win that social media aspect. And I get Vrabel trying to implement his football team from the preseason to get ready for the regular season, of course. But it's a cheap way of doing it because you know the other team isn't game planning. You know what I mean? And so it seems like it's the social media aspect of just trying to generate hype. And that's what the unfortunate part is. I know the Ravens want to win their undefeated streak and all that, even though Washington ended that 2 years ago. But I'll put that the Patriots are by far the ones, it seems like, are trying to convince ownership that they're on the right path. If that
And
makes
that's what I was gonna say about the Ravens. Like, I would have picked the Ravens in this question if that we didn't beat them a couple years ago and end their preseason streak of however many wins it was. Because I do think that obviously they took pride in that and wanted to just crush everyone in the preseason and keep that streak alive. So, but with us beating them a couple years ago and kind of resetting that streak, I do think that, and that's a good point by you, where like I think that Vrabel and the Patriots are kind of trying to put it out there, like, hey, we've been down for a couple years, but the Patriots are like, we're back. I know a lot of people have like expectations for Drake May and the Patriots this year because Vrabel's such a good coach. They had a really good offseason as far as like the draft and free agency. And obviously, from year 1 to year 2 is when a lot of the quarterbacks take the biggest leap of their careers. So I do think that they're trying to send a message of, hey, we're back to the tough, hard-nosed Patriots of the early years of Tom Brady's career of defense, running the ball, toughness, and physicality is what we're going to be built on. And obviously, Vrabel is a part of those teams, so it would make a lot of sense.
It would. All right, guys, that's going to wrap us up for this episode. We'll see you again. I'm not sure if some point during the week, maybe I'll record some tomorrow or Tuesday. I'll let you guys know or update you. If not, we'll see you on Sunday. We've got another round of joint practices coming up and another preseason game. Very excited for that.
Are we joint practicing with the Bengals or no?
No, it's.
I don't think so, right? This is with the Ravens next week after this, right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong
what I
about that. But have a great, safe week, everybody. Please comment your thoughts from Friday's game. Concern level 0 to 10. Let us know what you think. If you've made it this far, you're a frickin' champion. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we'll see you guys again this week. Washington football. Woo! What's up, everyone? This is Kyle from the Burgundy Zone. We are releasing our own merch to support the show. If you want to rock the Burgundy Zone logo or you want to see Reed's face on your shirt, we got it. We're starting with t-shirts, hoodies, and zip-up. So if you're a fan of the show, make sure you snag one before they are gone. Check out the link in our bio on Instagram, or you can find the link in the description of the video. Thanks again for all your support. Until next time.